This is Andrew Wicklund from Project Risk Consultants. I'm going to go over some of the reasons why an import in Primavera Risk or Pertmaster may not line up. So, as I mentioned with some of the other modules, you really need to go back and find out what the root cause of the problem is and fix it in the original schedule. Well, the question always is, well, what could the root cause be? There are a lot of things that it could be. One of the things is out of sequence logic. Especially with progress overrides and retain logic. If any of those settings come in incorrectly, you really shouldn't have out of sequence logic. That should be cleaned up. But the progress override and retain logic switch could do that in Primavera P6. Best practice, clean up your out of sequence logic. Out of sequence logic by default is cannot happen. So it will schedule as you plan it to. However, it is not a best practice. The data dates for all sub-projects need to be in line. So say for Primavera P6, you'll get an error message, but it will pick the data date for you. So it will pick the latest data date. So, and it's going to do the statusing for you. It's going to make assumptions for you. It's not what you don't want the machine making assumptions for you. So make sure all your data dates for sub-projects are aligned. You don't want one scheduled to November 1st and the other one to December 1st, because the software doesn't know what is today's date then, or what is the plan date. So the planning unit, if you're importing by days and you've got a fractional amount like 4.5 days, it's going to round that duration for you. Well, it's going to round that duration for you, and that will ripple across the entire schedule. So that could cause issues. They're usually small issues. However, they can ripple and become bigger and bigger. So the rounding could be an issue. You can always import something by hours to get around the rounding issue, and that should fix most of the problem there. The next issue, the P6 database. Sometimes there's just issues with it, and sometimes you have to trace bugs and go around looking for demons in the software. It isn't a nice answer to say, but this software does help you to find some of those bugs that might be almost impossible to find. There have been issues where Primavera P3 files are migrated to P6, and the P6 import, it actually did hurt the integrity of the data. Oftentimes Pertmaster will see what P3 saw, but it'll look different from what P6 sees. So that's another one that's a hard issue to get around. However, it has happened before. The incorrect planning unit was used, where you've got an 8-day planning unit, and when you typed in on the import, you did 10-hour days. That could cause the data to all the dates to be off and all the durations to calculate incorrectly. Primavera Risk doesn't handle secondary constraints. Really shouldn't do anything with your import, but it is important to know on the import log if you have secondary constraints, it's going to remove them. The lag calendar settings, if those were imported incorrectly, the scheduler, maybe there was a lot of linking with lags between activities on different calendars. The schedule check options will go into the step 3 schedule check, but that could show you some areas too. Maybe your scheduling options are off for some reason. It could happen there. The Primavera P6 plan, you didn't schedule it before you exported it, so it's going to take the dates as they're sitting there. So if you made changes, you export it, but you didn't hit F9, it's seeing an overlay of where those bars were. So you should hit F9, schedule it before you export it, so you can actually compare. Microsoft Project, always import plans with sub-projects from within Microsoft Project. Add the toolbar. Go through our MSP import module, go through that, import it from Microsoft Project, and that should take care of issues with that, or you're going to have problems with that. The project, if it's not status to time now, Pertmaster, it's a risk tool. It's looking time now forward. Risk does not look at the past. If it's happened, it's happened. If it's in the future, that's what we're analyzing. So if you have a remaining duration in the past, or you have actual dates in the future, a risk tool can't make sense of that. So the tool is going to say, well, we're going to look at this in a certain way, and it's going to make assumptions for you. And as smart as the tool is, you don't want it making those assumptions for you. You really need to have things status to time now, or it's going to create issues. Um, and in Microsoft Project, one of the things that we've seen that's a common issue is people use the percent complete field to drive earned value, whether they're attaching to Cobra or another earned value tool. The percent complete field in Microsoft Project is really the duration percent complete field. It is connected to duration, and if you edit the percent complete field for earned value calculations, but you don't want it to be editing your remaining duration, there's a lot of times there's issues with that. So you really need to status things to time now and make sure that everything is on the data date, and that way the risk tool is going to understand what's going on. That really is a big issue with Microsoft Project in the way a lot of companies choose to calculate their earned value. Keep in mind, if you edit the percent complete field, it's going to edit the remaining duration field. And Primavera Risk is looking at that remaining duration field. It's going to take those remaining durations in. So there can be mismatches there that can cause huge problems. There are other issues. These are some of the most common issues. Um, if you can't find what's going on, feel free to give us a call. Maybe we can help find the issue for you.